Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's a pleasure. My name is Marco Passalia. I am a Swiss entrepreneur active in the commodity business, but I'm also a Swiss politician. You know, in Switzerland, we have the privilege to be, let's say, okay, active in business, but also we can be politician, I would say, as a hobby. So today I also am trying to be a moderator. I'm trying to do my best to really try to pick up really the most interesting and added value information from our panelists. But I'm sure it's going to be very, very interesting. Cybersecurity. We have been listening to all main discussion about cybersecurity as as user of every instrument, technological instrument that we have. As company, we always can read the information about cybersecurity, how aware or how we are not aware of cybersecurity. And sometimes I even got the impression that it's a kind of a sexy topic. Good to talk about that, but is it a real topic? Is it a real problem? Let's start from Paolo. Paolo, because we talked about that many times. Please.
So I think we must be completely aware that many times we are speaking of cybersecurity, cyber threat as something very far away from us in the real life. But you have to think that someone maybe in this moment is reading the email together with you. Some of you are reading emails in this moment or writing messages. Someone is in parallel with you, perhaps, or is reading with your name to your customer in order to make them pay in another place. These things are continuously happening, or perhaps it's convincing one of your employees exactly in this moment to give him the access to his computer and therefore to the network of your company. Or to go further, they can stop your production tomorrow morning or something like that. So we cannot say anymore that is something far away from us. And you read continuously incident on the papers and on the media, on the TV and so on. And we cannot even say that we can rely just on technologies to solve this problem. It's not enough to buy one more firewall, one more advanced system in order to. You must be continuously aware. You must continuously test your systems like military exercises in order to be sure that you are at the maximum possible level of defense. But you also, you must figure out cyber defense exactly like in the physical world. So here, if you walk around Davos in these days, you see and not see many security people, many police, many military. Many of them you don't see. Perhaps they are also inside here, but you don't see them. So you must continually monitor in order to understand as early as possible the enemy moves. This is the only way to really defend, and we have to share information altogether. This is, I wanted just to put something to
Henry, you agree? I mean, you have not been working in this field during the last 3 decades, more or less, as you were telling me, for nothing. I mean, it's a real problem.
Does anyone truly think it isn't? I mean, all you have to do is look at the headlines on almost a daily basis, right? And the breaches appear to be getting larger and larger, and the level of sophistication much more advanced, despite the immense investments and the amount of development that has gone into building security systems. And so I think it's unquestionable this is a big issue. This is probably as big as an issue as global warming. If we really look at things that may affect our lives, because cybersecurity crimes are being performed at the state level, at the personal level, at the corporate level, at the individual level, and the results are there. You know, we read about them every day. I think if we look at what has happened in the last 20 years or so with technology, and this is an interesting point that I'd like to throw out, which goes to the heart of, you know, how serious is it? What can we do about it? You know, we've built bigger firewalls, more encryption. We've had some level of awareness in education, and you touched on a good point. This cannot be solved alone by technology, right? Cybersecurity interferes and interfaces with all kinds of other systems, so there has to be a slightly different architectural approach. And this is sort of what I've started working on in the last year or so is, you know, what are we doing differently? Right? Einstein's definition of stupidity is you keep doing the same thing over and over and you expect a different result. I mean, this is the cybersecurity industry of which we're all a part of. I'm sorry to say that. And so a new approach or new approaches are required. And these are the things that, you know, forums like this are fantastic because they open up the discussion. They allow different perspectives. On this panel, there are people here from all walks of life. Mine is Silicon Valley, it's security, it's IoT, it's fog computing. So a broader perspective, but there are people here from the industrial realm. And so if we look at where we need to go, I think it's a combination of, again, you alluded to, it's technology, it's architecture, but it's also policy, it's education. It's a combination of things. But more importantly, we need to do things differently. And what I mean by that, if I just may use a small example that was apparent here yesterday. So we're used to equate to the physical world. This building was secure yesterday, but if you were all here when the Prime Minister was here, he had added levels of security following him around. The same needs to apply. We need to start securing data. So in essence, wherever that data traverses to, whatever that data goes to, that data is inherently secure. Today we secure perimeters. We apply levels and layers of security, but in between, within, that data is inherently insecure.
We come back on that. I think it's a very interesting topic to be deepened, but do think differently. Isn't it just a matter of education, Alessandro? Education, educating people, educating employees, educating managers.
Yes, absolutely. I firmly believe that cybersecurity is changing completely. We are moving from a Star Trek scenario, where cybersecurity is perceived something like installing antivirus, configuring firewalls, moving forward to Star Wars environment, where human beings collect and acquire a huge importance in terms of analyze the problem, predict a kind of problem in terms of security and cybersecurity. We have to change our cultural behavior because otherwise everyone in the business, in the academy, in the society, in the new upcoming digital society just put money, invest or perceive cybersecurity as a cost and not as an investment. But when something happens, some incident happens, I'm coming from the digital forensics environment, from academy, but I'm the head of the lab, the first lab in Switzerland, which provides scientific collaboration to the Swiss Federal Court. So we are from academy, but we touch the real problem coming when something happens, real on the ground. So we have to change our cultural perception. What I mean, it's very simple. If I ask you, are you able right here, right now, to share your log file that you have in your smartphone, in your server, in your computer that you have at home or in your car, in order to share with other people your experiences, your real data, in order to aggregate a huge amount of data, in order to analyze this kind of data, in order to define the new strategies to improve the prediction and the strategies for defending critical infrastructures or devices that will be through the IoT distributed in the digital society. So we have to change our approach. That's very, very important.
So Carlos, we could also say that from the point of view of politicians, I could talk about my experience in the parliament talking about cybersecurity. It's like talking about nothing for most of them. But okay, politicians, decision makers, governments, could we say that there is not yet perception, awareness of this important topic?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would like to bring this panel to another dimension, which I think is the intention of Davos. Yesterday, during the WISeKey event, I brought Brad Smith, which is the Chief Legal Officer of Microsoft, and is working on the Geneva Convention on Cybersecurity. We announced together with Cisco, Cloudflare, and a few other, 60 other technology companies in the world, all the leading companies of the world, what we call the Cybersecurity TechAccord. So the TechAccord, it's a very powerful movement, and it started a year ago in making Geneva the Cybersecurity Convention on the enableability of using cybersecurity as a weapon. So as you remember, in the 47th, all the governments of the world signed an agreement not to use weapons against each other to destroy each other. So that has ruled the world for nearly 60 years and more. And we are doing basically the same now on cybersecurity. So the problem of cybersecurity, look, I was the Chief Security Officer of the UN. I've been on cybersecurity all my life. The problem of cybersecurity is the same problem Americans have with weapons. If they are available, people are going to use it, because cybersecurity as a weapon can be used to gain power, money, and influence. So there's absolutely no way that you guys are going to ever think that you're going to be protected. There is absolutely no way to be protected. The only way to be protected is to put regulation on cybersecurity companies like WISeKey or Microsoft or any of those big signatories, and they are not going to sell their products to hostile government or hostile companies that are going to use those products against each other. So there's a moratorium on the use of cybersecurity weapons. Otherwise, we're going to destroy each other. I mean, the internet has been already compromised. All your mobile phones are being compromised. All your emails have been compromised, and all the data you have in your organization have been compromised. So it's a total illusion to think that you're going to add security and you're going to be able to defend that. We have to do a reset on cybersecurity, and the only way we can do a reset is to stopping companies that produce cybersecurity as WISeKey. You know, we produce encrypt funds, we protect the e-voting project in Geneva, we do cybersecurity for criminal court of justice, we do the UN cybersecurity. Imagine if I use my technology to sell it to weapons dealers, to drug dealers, to dark web transactions. So this is what we need to focus in Davos. Davos is not a technology only environment. It's an environment where policies and agreements are set so everybody comply. So I strongly recommend you guys to look at the TechAccord, Cybersecurity TechAccord, and join us to make sure that we're not going to use our cybersecurity weapons as a mass destruction. That's the focus. In what concerns governments, needs to be educated. Swiss government is by far not the best one on cybersecurity. We have the Digital Switzerland, which is, it has tried to put some kind of process that's becoming like a PR stunt. Switzerland has a big deficit on cybersecurity, which is actually a big problem because we are handling banks and we are handling financial institutions, international organizations. Actually, I organized the blockchain event in Geneva, where we launched the Blockchain Center of Excellency. And the idea is actually to bring all to work together. The only way we're going to solve the cybersecurity problem is by cooperating and having a very clear agenda on what we are trying to achieve. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about infiltration, data loss, identity theft. But this is like people having symbols and they are sick. You know, it's like having fever or sneezing. That's not the problem. The problem is where are the causes, and there where we have to go to the causes.
That's a good point, thanks. I think that that's also a little bit the spirit of WEF, of Davos, and also about a more global discussion on specific topics. But at the end of the day, I also, as an entrepreneur, must say that talking about that, I'm also pretty concerned about the security of my company, of what's going on, of what could be the threat, let's say, in terms of really, I sometimes have the awareness when I talk to other colleagues in other sectors and so on, that there is really no idea about the threats that we can have. Do you agree with me, Elena?
Regarding what exactly?
Yeah, the problems of, let's say, how much cybersecurity can impact on companies.
Well, I think it's the question of life and death, actually. Very simple. You know, it doesn't only impact businesses, but it impacts human life. There is a very real example. Not so long ago, one of the neurosurgeons was performing a brain surgery in Siberia, in one of the cities, and the hospital was hacked, and the electricity went off, and all systems went down. And Sberbank, where I work, received a desperate plea for help. Our specialists flew, you know, the patient survived, you know, the systems were restored, but what kind of, you know, what kind of meanness, aggression, senseless, you know, the hacker could have to attack the hospital where the patients can lose their lives. So this is not just about the corporate survival. This is about human life. And we are very, very close to cyber security risks and threats to becoming, you know, crossing the red line and becoming cyber terrorism.
It's about life, you were saying. It's also about critical infrastructure, Pascal, isn't it?
Yes, yes, Marco, absolutely. And the aviation industry was, yeah? Can you hear me? Yeah. The aviation industry was the industry who invented the payment card. So we were the first, you know, long time ago on this new world. And if you look at today, we are also the first that also has to address cybersecurity, because here we are talking about the safety of the aircraft. We are not only talking about the personal data that you have to, you know, your data when you are booking a flight, but with all the connected aircraft, we are talking about safety. And one of the points that was brought is that it's not only technology. It's about people, it's about organization. And if you look at the history of safety in the aviation industry, is to build the system in a way they are resilient. So for example, every connected system in an aircraft, the pilot will have to learn how to pilot the aircraft without this system. So there is a resilience principle that we should adopt actually everywhere in our business, so not only in the aviation industry, that, okay, if something is connected to something, it can be hacked. And so the pilot or the person driving the business, we have to learn how to, you know, to keep the safety of the aircraft or the business, if we're talking about an hospital, without, you know, having access to this system. And what we said before, it's not only a technology tool that you will buy, it's about organization, it's about doing some rehearsal, it's about doing some simulation. For example, at the moment, we have some airlines, they are taking their pilot into simulators, and they are learning how to pilot an aircraft that has been attacked. One of the avionics system, you know, has been compromised. And I'm not saying that it's happening. I'm saying that because there is a high level of segmentation in the aviation industry, but anyway, even if we believe that the probability of this to happen is very low, we still need, you know, to train the people how to react to that. So this resilience, you know, principle that has been at the basis of the design of the aircraft, we are taking this into also the design of the connected system that are, you know, used in our industry, and that we should do the same in all the industry, whether it is power grid, electrical supply, whether it is, you know, cars that are connected also.
So we can say that, I mean, from a certain point of view, what is the real problem is that on the other side, on the dark side, we have crime, we have even terrorism, we have a cyberspace that is becoming also a space for this kind of bad things. What do you think, Matteo?
Yeah.
You work on that, actually.
Yeah. We need to think that cyber threats are not static. They evolve over time, they evolve over space, and it's so difficult to keep up to this kind of evolution. And the evolution of this kind of threats is triggered by the availability of new information and communication technologies, the internet, new services, and so they change. And it's quite difficult also to understand the level of this change and to keep track of this change. Recently, just to make an example, several representatives of the cybersecurity community have started talking about a new global threats, not entirely new, but they refer to the interplay, the connections among cyber criminals and terrorists. Connections, linkages, interplays, and the type of threat that they can pose can be even higher. But they started also talking and naming this kind of interplay as the nexus, the cybercrime nexus. But what exactly is this nexus? There are different ways to interpret this nexus. You can have cyber criminals that can engage in terrorist activities. For example, imagine a distributed denial of service is an attack that is used perhaps to extort some money, but the main goal is also to spread terror, to spread fear. You can also have terrorist individual groups that they engage in criminal activities for fundraising. Then you can have also cooperation, collaboration between separate cyber criminals, criminal organizations, and terrorists. Also, the phenomenon of cybercrime as a service. It's not that far the idea that you can have terrorist organizations hiring cyber criminals to carry out some attacks also to critical infrastructures. And then you can also think about this nexus as a kind in terms of transformation, when you can have criminal organizations that they can evolve and they can also become hybrids. They can also engage in terrorist activities. Thanks also to the availability of new technologies. Before we talk about blockchain. And blockchain, it's a very succulent also plate for terrorists, not only for the fundraising, but also for, yes, for moving capitals, or just think about blockchain as a tool to share information peer-to-peer, to share plans, to share trainings to other terrorists. So this is evolving. And in order to keep up with that, there is also a specific need of having more data and more knowledge of what is going on. What does it mean? More technologies that can be used to gather this data. All the stakeholders should be involved, and I totally agree with what was said, that you have different institutions, starting from the public institution to the civil society, that they should collaborate also in this. Yes, yes, it's key, it's key. And then also, what it's really needed, in my point of view, and this is really a hype, trust, information sharing and trust. How you build trust? It's not that easy, but you have to think that criminals, terrorists, and other cyber threat actors, they collaborate. And unless the cybersecurity stakeholder, they don't also push for having more info sharing, it will be difficult also to keep up with that. This is my point.
On trust, I will go back, but I would like to more technologies, more stakeholders involved. Carlos.
Yeah, just back on this point, I think it's very important what you just said. You have to understand that cybersecurity for criminals is a business. Business, they use cybersecurity, crypto weapons to attack and get a benefit. So it's a very, very big business. Cybersecurity companies do not have a cybersecurity business. What they do is to sell products. So it's different. They don't get any commissions on the benefit of that product, where the criminals do get commissions. If you, in the dark web, you download a piece of hacking software and that software doesn't work, you get paid back. It's like an eBay is extraordinarily well organized. I don't know if you guys have visited the dark web, but the dark web is extraordinarily organized. It's much better organized than any other cybersecurity defense strategy. And the reason is because there is a business. The cybersecurity business now is $5 trillion. This is 7 times Apple. $5 trillion, on which already only on illicit trade, which is one of the cybersecurity major threats, is already $1.5 trillion. Everything is, all the watches that you buy, the fake things that you buy, they are fitting the bank accounts of these guys. So it is absolutely a fight which is not equal, because they are sharing data, they are using, and data is the oil of the digital economy, so more data those cyber attacks have, better and more sophisticated attacks they're gonna make. Whether in the other side, the good guys are not sharing data. If you go to Microsoft and you go to Apple, and they go, no, this data is mine because that has commercial value. So we are in a situation where we have to teach the good guys to share data, use artificial intelligence algorithms, then we'll be able to analyze this data, and then be in a situation we can shut down the criminal underworld on cybersecurity. There is absolutely possible to be done, but needs collaboration, needs standardization, and needs to be less selfish. So cybersecurity companies cannot only think in themselves by saying, oh, we're going to sell billions of dollars by selling my products, because by the way, some of those products are ending in the cyber world. So there is absolutely a necessity, and I fully agree this should be the focus on the cybersecurity cooperation, to share data, to share hacks, to share alerts, to create an early warning system on attacks so people will know who has been attacked and why, and where is the consequences. And by the way, I wrote a book about it called The Transhuman Code. This is how the human body acts. If we get fever and we get attacked by a virus, the cells immediately transfer data to the other cells in a peer-to-peer environment. So everything in your body gets ready to defend attack. You don't have one cell that says, no, I'm going to keep all the data, I'm not going to inform anybody, right? So this is we have in our biology the best design for cybersecurity. We just need to adapt it.
Carlos, you anticipated me. I wanted to quote that, but that's good. Pascal, yes, you
I just wanted to add
please.
something, is that it's about the trust that the customer is putting in your organization. And many business, if we are losing the trust of our customer, we are out of business. And so it's not only a cost, it's really to keep and to show to the customer also that you deserve the trust that is putting in your business. And I see very often about collaboration and sharing information, that in many organizations their legal departments are coming to them saying, no, you cannot share information because this will create some problem. And I think that we need to change the mindset of everybody. It's by sharing information that we are going to mitigate the risk, and the ones that are not sharing information are probably the ones that are at risk.
Yes.
Everybody has been hacked. The difference is that there are people who know they have been hacked, and so they can mitigate the risk, and people who don't know. And so the company, and when the legal department are advising the company, oh no, don't disclose anything, don't say anything, in a very near future, the customer, they will not believe a company saying, no, we are safe. No. And they will believe tomorrow a company saying, yes, we are continuously monitoring and continuously detecting what's happening, and we are sharing with all our partners in order to mitigate the risk.
Yeah.
Paolo?
Yeah, I think we have to work, as was said, but I want to highlight this. So many companies think that if they have a technical problem, first of all, they consider a cyber attack a technical problem, not something that can really affect on the value of the company itself. But we have to think that if more than one company is attacked in the same moment, it could be a problem of national security or international security or of allied security or continental security and so on. It's a problem of cyber defense. It's not anymore a technical problem. And this is something that, first of all, we must be able to detect and respond to the attack. So I mean, many companies has not their internal resources able to understand, to detect a real attack. So this is something that we must educate, we must create. You have read it, almost 3.5 million of cyber operators able really not just to configure a firewall, to understand with a multidisciplinary level what is happening, because it's not just an engineer, a pure engineer, technical engineer that can understand what is happening. He must know of business, he must know of how the different language, the culture, in order to understand that if the contact the company has is something really coming from that person or not. This is the threat, as was said, is very, very sophisticated. Yeah. They're working together, they're cooperating really to win. And we are far away from this level, from the defense point of view.
Let me come back, Heller, with you on the concept of trust, because we were talking, yes, the importance of human factor. And there is also a matter of on the one side, we want confidentiality on our data, but on the other side, there is a lack of trust. How can we cope with that?
So that's an interesting challenge. But before I go there, I mean, I just want to echo that I think we're all seeing the same things, and this is definitely has to be a multifaceted approach on all sides. But I still strongly think that security has to be more highly automated, more highly integrated into artificial intelligence systems, because if at the end, despite all the efforts to train people and force people into having sound policies, if your security system is based on human behavior, it's doomed to fail, one way or another. It's doomed to fail. And so I think technology still plays a big role in all of this, from the perspective of more automation, more integration into other aspects of technology. So in essence, as I said earlier, a different approach versus what we've been doing for the past 20 years. Of course, to your point, all of this has to be weighed when you look at confidentiality. And so, again, there are ways to anonymize data. There are ways to architect these systems so that there is levels of protection that don't apply the same way to all, right? So from that perspective, I know this is a big struggle, the confidentiality versus true security, but if we look at the balances and what that brings to society, a couple of case points were brought up of what is in essence cyber terrorism today. I mean, we're talking about autonomous vehicles, vehicles that interact with intelligent traffic systems, systems that interact with people's pacemakers and other medical devices. So at what point do we all look at and say, well, maybe I do need to give up a little bit of my privacy, a little bit of my independence to ensure that this system is inherently more comprehensively secure. So it's a fine balance. I don't think any of us has the answer to that question, but I do think, as everyone here has, rightfully highlighted, this has to be an approach on multiple fronts. And policy plays a big role, but as a technologist, I think technology plays a big role.
Last opinion on that with Alessandro, and then we just go ahead to kind of different topics.
Yes, I totally agree with what my colleagues said, but I would like to stress the cyber education perspective, because we need to bring out all researchers from their lab and create the good condition where they can communicate the status of the art, the complexity of technologies to CEOs, to law enforcement agencies. Otherwise, will still remain in the never-running story, because attackers, they just send one email and they have 2 billion users. One phishing email, they just have 2 billion users, and they are able to collect big data. Someone sends money, someone doesn't answer, which is a feedback. Someone say, you are a fraud, I don't answer you, which is a feedback. But from defensive point of view, if you are not able to communicate from researchers and businesses, CNO and law enforcement agencies, we are not able to collect big data, real big data, in order to improve strategies for defense, to moving from prevention to prediction, which is the real interesting topic.
I think that we could maybe sum up, sorry for being a little bit, maybe, let's say pragmatic, but more technologies, more stakeholders to be involved, more sharing information. I think it's interesting now to have a look at what a leading bank worldwide like Sberbank is doing, a bank which is very active in cybersecurity, and which is very, let's say, in line with what are the developments. And that's why I ask to Elena Tepliskaya also to give us, just in a few slides, it's not that easy to summarize that, but to give in a short presentation an idea about what they are doing. I'm sure that a few concepts will be also somehow sum up what you said.
Is it on?
Just a second. Okay, we have it.
We all discussed, the threats, but are there any remedies? Because it's very easy to kind of, put our hands up and recognize that there is really not much we can do about protecting our companies and protecting actually the humanity, because this became a very real threat that is on the verge of, one of the most dangerous types of terrorism. So cyber attacks today are, at least according to the World Economic Forum, one of the 4 major global risks. Interestingly, 80% of attacks are concealed by corporate victims in the fear to lose clients.
You have it here.
Oh, thank you.
That's for us.
The power.
There is an assessment that by 2022, the loss from cybercrime will reach $8 trillion. What is the cyber criminal system today? It's very complex. The problem is that cyber gangs, cyber groups are spread all over the world, and they don't really have to comply with any laws. And there is no imminent punishment that will follow. So therefore, the appetite is growing. And as it was mentioned, the gray internet or the dark web supplies all kinds of instruments, basically for peanuts. For a couple of $100, cyber criminals can obtain the instruments that can cause billions of dollars worth in damage. The criminals feel really like it's a game for them. I would disagree respectfully that it's just about money, just about power. It's some kind of, different, it's like a drug for them because they get control. And it's like, with their firearms, but exponentially more dangerous for humanity. So who are the targets, the main targets? It could be banks and financial institutions, it can be companies and organizations, and more we are talking about people like us. And speaking of protection, there are very simple means for cybersecurity hygiene. And I'm asking you to please tell me, how many of you change your passwords more than once a month? So as you can see, you're in minority, and this is a very simple hygiene measure that really can protect your data without investing, very significant funds, although I don't discourage. But let's not forget about simple means. And a lot was discussed about collaboration. Usually we talk about private government partnerships, but it's more and more about private entities talking to each other, using best practices, collaborating, and as it was indicated, it's progressively more difficult because of the legal restrictions. So laws also have to be changed, because the jurisdictions of the crime do not really address where the crime was committed, and therefore punishment rarely follows the crime. So we really need to initiate a greater incentive to change the laws and collaborate, not just between private entities and government, but also particularly with the law enforcement agencies. We at Sberbank created a Center for Cybersecurity 3 years ago. Of course, before we were taking whatever means to protect, because we have about 150 million clients around the globe. We're in 22 countries, and we have over 300,000 employees. So within the organization, we have significant risk to lose the data. We really had to invest very heavily, and we have in-house thousands of engineers who are developing new technologies, and some of them are cutting edge. So we are no longer utilizing this technology just for ourselves. We have about 50 significant corporate clients, but we also very actively work globally on all kinds of collaboration to strategize and also practically implement the means to defend not just ourselves, but the global community. Last year, we became one of the 6 co-founders of the World Economic Forum, C4C, which is Center for Cybersecurity. And we are trying to take it to a very pragmatic stage where we establish closer ties between the bank, between the individuals, between the corporations. And last year, we organized probably the first global international cybersecurity congress, which was attended by over 2,000 people from over 50 countries. We will organize the Congress again in June 2019. You're all invited. It is a very high-level gathering that discusses the most important and painful issues, looking for common solutions, because individually we can never overcome these threats. But at the same time, we shall not give up, and we shall really overcome this probably most challenging threat that we are all facing today. And I thank Marco for a very dynamic panel, and all the participants, because I learned a lot from you today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Pascal, after you tell me during coffee, how can I remind my password if I change it every month? But with Carl,
You need an app for that.
Okay.
You cannot do it only with...
all right, thanks. You will tell me later. Yeah. Carlos, but we go back a little bit to what you are saying of the final goal of WEF. Final goal of WEF is also to find kind of a standard, a multilateral platform where we can really share information, and we can... Please go a little bit ahead on that, because I think it's very important to focus on that.
So I have been working with the Global Council on Cybersecurity for the World Economic Forum for many, many years. Some of my staff has been also involved into Illicit Trade Council, Hans Schwab, which is there. And there's obviously a very big reflection on how, with using multi-stakeholder approach, how we can bring solutions to it. But I mean, I have been in cybersecurity since the web was created in Geneva, so we know the baby. I mean, we made it, so we know exactly the deficiencies of that baby, and that baby name is the web, the internet, right? So the internet is not secure. The internet has still a lot of issues, and we are conducting something like a $20 trillion economy on the top of the internet, which is an unsecure infrastructure. So basically, we are now in this concept. It's like everybody coming to web will have to bring their own personal bodyguard. That's what cybersecurity equivalent is. I mean, we have our own personal software, our own personal IT department, our own personal Sberbank department taking care of us. That's the current situation. That is unsustainable. I mean, imagine that everybody will have to come into Davos with a bodyguard, because otherwise we will kill each other. Obviously, there's a physical security structure that works. I mean, nobody brings bodyguards here, and you have ministers and head of states and CEOs walking in the street in total trust and confidence. Why? Because there is a platform around us that is protecting us. There is a professional platform. Those are people that have been trained, and they are on daily basis assessing risk, and they are ultra connected and ultra sharing information. We need the equivalent on the internet. I mean, in 5 years' time, it will be ridiculous to say that we individually, we can protect our companies with our IT guy. That will not be the case. Even a Sberbank will not be able to protect themselves alone anymore, because this is going so fast and it's getting so complex. Then you need to have a protection backbone behind you. So what we are aiming to is that to create cybersecurity national backbones. So this is the country responsibility. Every country has the responsibility to protect their airline space. They have the water safety, the climate safety, the road safety. They have to have the same responsibility of protecting the digital safety space, which is the internet. And then bring, like we have in Switzerland, Melanie and other sophisticated intelligent gathering bodies that will be feeding us information real time about what are the threats are. And then you have professional companies, like many of us, WISeKey is one, but you have many in each country, you have another one, that will be helping you in the same way a doctor will help you to take care of your health, or a dentist to take care of your teeth. You need an expert that takes care of your cybersecurity. So we are moving towards the platform effect on cybersecurity. And I think we are getting there, and this is actually this TechAccord I mentioned at the beginning. It's the beginning, because at least you're bringing something like a $20 trillion digital economy and cybersecurity working together and say, hey, let's forget for a moment just making money objects. Let's work together so we can defend national infrastructure. So this is where we are leading towards, and I think this is a good news.
Matteo, your academic view on that?
Yeah. More than an academic view, I would like to bring a concrete experience that I was contributing. Because I'm involved in this project that is sponsored by the Association of Foreign Banks Switzerland. Foreign banks based here, they are not national critical infrastructures, they don't have access to Melanie reporting, but still they perceive, they are so aware that they need to collaborate, they need to share, that they decided to promote this initiative and create an information sharing platform. Again, trust, because again you have the issue of trust. But trust, it should be a step-by-step process. You can start with inner circles of trust, and if the sharing of information works for the parties in these inner circles, then you can also scale up. So what I really think is that information sharing is paramount. You need the platforms, you need the systems, and you need also the people willingness to do that, to contribute with data, even if they are afraid of exposing their assets, their credibility, but by sharing, you will see the positive effect, the added value, the more you share, and the more you are able to build this global structure, infrastructure that can protect the people that are navigating in the internet. This is my opinion.
We all know what must be done, what decision makers have to decide in this next future, as soon as I would say. But I just go back to maybe my personal experience as an entrepreneur, or just talking about the company perspective. Paolo, what can I do now to defend myself, to defend my company?
First of all, you must have in process a cybersecurity program. So you are not doing penetration tests, you are not doing social engineering exercise, you are not monitoring the company. So these are processes that you cannot avoid anymore. Must be inside, like having the light inside the company, or the connection to the internet. Moreover, I have to say that we have to build up a network, a confederated network of regional cyber defense center, PPP, build up, coordinated by the national cyber defense infrastructure, because we have to be very near to the territory in order to have this trust. Yeah. Otherwise, you will look at the cyber military command like something very, very far away from you. as the police infrastructure come into the territory, so this is the real same way. So there must be a cooperation. As here, the bodyguard of the minister is connected to the main the main physical security of Davos. Yep. So this is something that we cannot avoid anymore. This is the only way.
Pascal, do you agree with Paolo?
Yes, I agree with him, but I would say also that don't also expect too much from authorities, because it is difficult for them also to keep the pace. And cybersecurity is one of the subjects where the law enforcement people, they are not able to solve the problem themselves, and this is why that they need a very deep and close, and I'm saying international collaboration, because when you have an airline flying from the US to Europe, you need a collaboration not only at the nation level, but you need an international collaboration. So this is the first time that the law enforcement, they are not capable to solve the problem, and they are not capable even to understand what is the problem, and it is why that we have to collaborate between industry, between authorities, public, and also research, academy. Yeah. Everybody has to work together, because
the civil society as well.
Yeah. We are, in a way, we are stupid. We are making the job easy for the hackers. The hackers, they are sharing information at the speed of light. And when we want to share information, we have our legal department saying, no, don't share information because it is bad for the reputation of the company. So this is the problem that we have. We have to act much more faster, because at the moment we are not, catching up with the hackers. The hackers, they are more innovative than us. They are doing faster, and we are always looking at what happened yesterday, and we are not working on what will happen tomorrow. And remember that we are going to put more technology in everywhere. You will have robotics everywhere, you will have artificial intelligence, but you will have also genetic, also engineering. Yeah. So even the biological people could be hacked as well tomorrow.
Elena, please.
I would like to add one more aspect. I think we haven't touched the urgent need to educate law enforcement officials in the technicalities of the issues they have to deal. Because we have a really growing disparity between their awareness, their competences and skills in technology, and their responsibility to deal with the most complex technologically crimes that are occurring today. So I think we really need to assist with the proper education of law enforcement agencies and those departments and individual officials who are charged with this mission, hopefully possible, not impossible.
I would like to...
it varies from countries to countries. This is the point.
We already touched cross-border, but education, because sometimes they cannot tell the server from, I don't know, any other basic...
Carlos, just to bring that to a very concrete point, I think in this panel we have the solution. The solution is IATA. The most safe industry in the world is the airline industry. I mean, you're running thousands of airports around the world. They are interconnected because you take a plane from one to another. There's hundreds of thousands of planes taking off and landing every day. There's an amazing number of people getting in and out. All of them, they are batching with an authenticated identity. The products they get in, they get a track, and they are inspected before they get into the board and the plane. IATA and the airline industry is one of the most secure industries in the world. Why? Because they are acting as a platform. They are acting as a platform.
Speaking the same language.
And they had a track record of, I mean, if the banks will act as IATA, we will have zero hacking. But the problem is they don't. So cooperation as IATA, airports, airlines, and passengers and cargo are able to create a secure ecosystem. This is what we have to apply to other industries. So we are not far away from the solution. It needs cooperation.
Before going back on also you were saying about new approach with you and Alessandro, there is a question, please.
Hi, I'm Pavan Dugal. I'm the chairman of the International Commission on Cybersecurity Law. You talk of cooperation. There's no one international cyber law or cybersecurity law in place. You talk of cooperation, different countries are coming up with their own national laws on cybersecurity. And it's like the classical case of 5 blind men trying to describe an elephant. China goes one way, Singapore another, and Egypt a third way altogether. So that's why at the Commission we are trying to collate common legal principles to govern regulation of cybersecurity. But how do we begin? Where does the cooperation actually start? Because the national legislations will not be adequate to deal with these multinational approaches on cybersecurity breaches. And more so with the advent of the darknet, we are completely at bay. So any suggestions from the panel of what can be done for regulation?
Thank you. If I may, it's very, very interesting to listen to what you are just were asking, because a couple of days ago we had another very interesting panel on WTO. And I think that talking about other very different fields, we have similar experiences about multilateralism, about the necessity to create, to sharing experiences, information, to create a platform. But I think we can go back maybe with Carlos and then also with
I think the word cybersecurity is the wrong one. I think cybersecurity has to decompose into elements, and for each one, and especially in India, you do have a standardization. For instance, you have a UN CITRAL, United Nations Commission for Trade Laws, that handles international legislation on digital identities. India is issuing 1.3 billion digital identities, and is one of the most advanced countries in the world on digital identity through the identification of all the citizens. Then you have PKI, public infrastructure, creation of cryptographic national root keys. And there again is ITU, International Telecommunication Union, with X509 standard. So then when you move into the internet cybersecurity, you have ICANN, you have ISO standards, you have, so the standards are there. What needs to be done, and I have been advising the Indian government for many, many years, and I have operations in India, is to bring you guys together, because in India you have about 12 ministers, and they are not yet sharing data. You know that very well. So that makes our work very difficult, because we go in India and we see that there is still ministers, and this is not only the case in India, it's the case in Switzerland as well. So ministers need to start to change data and processes so those international standards can apply into something that becomes disruptive for the country. But the standards are there.
Alessandro and Pascal on this topic, and then with Heather, I would like to focus a little bit on the approach that you are suggesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we're all in agreement from the perspective that this has to be a multiple pronged approach, and policy plays a strong role, right? The internet works because we standardized on TCP/IP. If we look at what's happening in IoT with edge and fog computing, there are standards being developed. And when I talk about standards, the standards apply not just to the technology, but also to the overall overarching architecture in terms of policies. So it covers all of the above. But I still think, you know, this mess was created by technology, right? The World Wide Web is inherently insecure because it's the way it was designed. So technology also has to play a big role in solving some of its own problems. And this is where, again, if we look at different methodologies, different ways to secure data. So we talk a lot about securing networks, securing devices. So what if we start focusing on securing data sets, so that in essence, that data travels, it's inherently secure, no matter what networks it traverses to. These are the types of concepts that I think we need to start looking at and we start experimenting with. You know, my company is working very closely, Department of Homeland Security, with NASA and other government agencies on these very same concepts. And I invite you all to look at globaldatasentinel.com. Look at it. If you have any questions, shoot us any questions. And this is my point about we need different approaches, different perspectives. I spent 10 years embedding network security protocols into Cisco's routers and switches. So I know the old world very well. And if we keep doing more of the same approach, the end result will be the same, even with the best policies in place. And so this is why I think it has to be a combination of all these factors.
Different approaches, Alessandro?
Yes, I think this is a very important topic. It's the difference between a winner and a loser, because we can say a lot of words, but the reality says that attackers, they do not need standards, they do not need best practices, they do not need sharing data, they do not need nothing, know each other. They want to make business, and they are doing very well. And I think, but I want to be provocative, we are not very close to the solution. We are very close, we are very motivated to identify a kind of common solution, but the problem has a huge of complexity. If you try from the ground to work with a law enforcement agency between Lugano and Zurigo, which are belonging to the same country, you will find a lot of problems because everyone doesn't want to share data, experiences, cases, real cases. So you have to start from this real point in order to build a potential solution. But that is the difference between a winner, cyber criminals, and a loser. That's the point.
Sorry to be very pragmatic, Pascal, but at the end of the day, it's also a matter of cost, because as politicians have also to care about allocation of resources, and it's a cost for a company, it's a cost for government, it's a cost for the community.
Yes, and
very quick,
yeah,
and then
think about the cost of losing the trust of your citizens also. It's bigger than everything else. I just want to answer to you and to give you the example of what we IATA we do with ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. We have standards that has been pushed to all the civil aviation authorities in the world. These standards are international standards. So now in the certification of the aircraft, we are introduced penetration testing.
Yes.
And now if you want to release a new aircraft that is connected, it means that, okay, the OEM, the manufacturer, will have to run pen tests with the Civil Aviation Authority and to show that, you know, the aircraft is resilient. Security. So little by little, by using the international organization, in this case it is the UN agency, okay, we are pushing regulations that are mandatory. If you want to fly an aircraft, it has to be certified.
Carlos and Paolo, it's a matter of cost.
I have a question actually for you and a recommendation, because you're working with the Swiss government or you're at Parliament. Is one of the problems we have in cybersecurity is nations are not investing enough in cybersecurity. So we are, at the same time, we're trying to solve a big problem, but we are not empowering the people than they are actually doing solving the problem. Here in Switzerland, we are sitting on something like $1 trillion for BNS, and BNS actually invests money into Facebook and American Apple companies rather to invest money on companies like WISeKey, which we are listed on the Swiss security stock market. So until that is not changed, what is going to happen is, well, we're going to still be small vis-a-vis of a huge problem without having the capability of doing it. And who says Switzerland, says France, says Germany. I mean, we are selling our companies, cybersecurity companies, to Americans and now to Chinese. So in 5 to 10 years' time, Europe will not have any cybersecurity company, including Switzerland, if we're not able to fight the war. So those problems, those are basic architectural problems that can only be through the parliament raised and say, guys, stop to feeding money to social media, which are addicting young guys and creating a stupid economy, and put that money on people than they are solving real critical issues. So this is an ask for you to bring to the parliament. I help you in doing that.
I'm laughing for that. I'm not here to raise votes, but I can tell you that I'm very active on that. There are several parliamentary acts on that signed by me, and so I'm very active on that. I believe in what you just said, and I think we have a lot to do in Switzerland, but all around the world. Hello?
If I may add one quick point to that, this is a very important point. Also from an education perspective is the world has a shortage of cybersecurity professionals. Over 2 to 3 million shortage of cybersecurity professionals. So this is an excellent opportunity to incentivize at a government level young people to get into something that can be productive to society.
That's also one of my points. Paolo?
Yeah, so...
on cost, oh sorry, on cost, please.
On cost, of course. So we have to think the cost of non-acting. This is the point. So we have to understand that with the increase of the tax, we are completely compromising our assets. This is the point. We cannot think that, okay, I want to spare on cybersecurity. I'm not spending this year, next year, until something happens. But it is completely stupid because our life will be destroyed. So we really have to act, to put the money really on this partnership, public-private, because it is the only way to put the best resources we have in money and in mind from private and academy and in institution and law enforcement and intelligence and so on, because this is the only way. It's a practical way, not only continues to write strategies, not acting in the field. So the intelligence of the military is now, it's completely in the field. The platoon has its own intelligence that feed the global, the central intelligence. This is the way. No other solution.
Heller, and then I go back to Elena for
Thank you.
question.
Just one short data point that goes to the heart of this discussion, which is, again, there are efforts underway to actually put the burden at the board level, at the company board level, to ensure that companies are taking adequate cybersecurity measures, right? So from that perspective, this is another aspect of where government can play a very strong role and ensure that companies are adequately protected with cyber insurance and things of that nature.
And what are you doing, Elena? It's more investment than a cost, focusing on cybersecurity.
You are alluding to Sberbank or me personally?
Yeah. Both. Both of them.
Sberbank actually is 177 years old, and it is always perceived, and it used to be perceived as a Sparkasse. And I think today we are the IT company with the banking license. So this is what we are doing. And within the scope of our technological transformation, first of all, we converted ourselves into an ecosystem, of which our cybersecurity ecosystem is the cornerstone of our operation, because even though the Center for Cybersecurity that exists within the bank was formed 3 years ago, we indeed invested a lot, for years, but right now it's really going beyond our core operation. It's our everything. So we train our employees. I myself have to go through regular training, which is entitled Cybersecurity Agent, because we really don't have to be afraid. We have to act, and we educate. I really can't agree more with the lack of professionals. We realize that our employees who are working in cybersecurity graduated from about 100 universities and institutions. We really need to consolidate this knowledge. We need to establish international collaboration between the universities that prepare, the cadre for the industry. So, and of course, we invest in technologies, we invent new technologies, and we share. So this is pretty much what we do.
Thank you.
And we're very active in the World Economic Forum C4C.
We have time for a couple of questions.
I'm in the innovation process, and you may think that my question could be provocative, but I'm paid to think different and to find solutions. The question is it possible to create a new design without security problem, cybersecurity problem, like the blockchain or the Bitcoin or all the open source program we have? You participate in this business because without cybersecurity, you are out of job. Your message that I heard is based on fear. It's exactly like the army, the same wording. And we know that with the army, you can have a lot of money. More technology means it's more complicated. And you say, I don't know how many times, 100 times the word business. For me, it's simply show that you will not solve these issues because it's a casino and all the people can make tons of money. Therefore, you are in a dead end. You mentioned also the civil aviation and all the standardization. And we saw what happened with two drones. Therefore, the civil aviation is also in dead end. But my question is it possible to create a new design without security problems and to fully change the paradigm? And in your answer, please don't put fear and don't put the word business.
Thank you. We love provocations. I think the main message was more based on lack of perception from my point of view. Alessandro on that.
Yes, and then my answer will be very honest. I think yes, but the only way to do it is to think and use or consider security not in terms of technicality, but in terms of behavior. Inside your company, you have to share, to communicate from top to the bottom and vice versa, a new kind of perception in terms of security. You don't have to put your secretary to configure a antivirus or something like this, but you have to, day by day, because it's a process, in this step you can, day by day, month by month, year by year, you can distribute and share a new kind of philosophy within the business, because security is not a matter of technicality, is a matter, in the whole chain, is a matter of behavior.
Pascal and then Carlos.
Yeah, one comment. I'm not sure I agree with your statement. It's not a technology problem, it's a problem made by people using technology. It's different. It's a people problem, and we will solve it, you know, with people and with organization between people. So I think that this is the first point. And the second one is that you cannot stop the train. So it's funny from me coming from the aviation industry talking about train, but technology will move on. And you can see in many countries, whether you go to China, whether you go to Turkey, they are moving at fast speed. So it's us to organize ourselves in order to make sure that the technology will not harm people, but it is people doing this. Like any innovation, anything that has been created, you have people using it for the good, and you have also people using it for the bad. And this is where we need regulators to help us to protect people from, the misuse of technology.
Carlos, any other question in the meantime? Carlos, please.
Yeah, just to say that you are right in one part, you are wrong in another part. From my perspective, you're right that we need a new design, but it's not the blockchain, by the way, because the blockchain does not solve the cybersecurity issue. It aggravates the cybersecurity issue because of decentralized ledger. Yeah. I think what Pascal says is the beginning of the solution of the problem is by bringing cybersecurity as a design. Means that you are embedding cybersecurity in products that then enters into secure infrastructures, whether it's in an airport, a hospital, a government. And cybersecurity as a design is actually a huge industry. Yes, there is absolutely a gain you make. You're going to make money. I mean, we're not in a wishful thinking society, right? You have to make money because you have to create infrastructure. We are in the same situation that they were the guys in the 18th century building the rails for the train. Somebody has to build the rails, and then people will make money on the train, and people will make money in cargo on the train. But we don't have the rails yet. So I think cybersecurity as a design at the product level, at the process level, is the next thing to come. And blockchain will help on that, because the identity decentralization, the possibility of using cryptographic root keys, and that will be one, together with AI, together with IoT, together with machine-to-machine interactions. But I think we are entering into a new design. And yes, we are in that phase. We are in what we call Web3. And we are also in what we call the fourth industrial revolution. And all things are happening here in Davos. So there's a good time to get it right by bringing all the brains together. Not only yourself as a security expert, everybody have to participate. This is an open dialogue. And that is the only way we can get it right.
Very quick, Helder and Paolo on that, and then we have the question. Or just, we can have the question, please, and then.
Well, I'd like to know what is the panel's opinion about a slightly different approach to security risk and letting financial markets to take care of cyber risk.
Sorry, we cannot hear this way.
All right, okay. I wanted to know the panel's opinion about an idea to let financial markets to take care of the cybersecurity through creation of special instruments like catastrophic bonds, which exist in the insurance industry. Is there anything, do insurance companies try to do something like that?
Okay, you also had other questions, and then we can, Helder and then Paolo.
Yeah, I was just to your point, and I think it's been answered. Design is everything. I'll give you a very simple concept. If you look at most operational stacks today are built with functionality in mind, and then you add security as an afterthought. We actually built a secure stack, which you now can add any functionality to it. So design is key. If you inherently build something that is secure to begin with, then you can simply add to it, and that system is secure from the ground up.
Paolo?
Yes, I just want to remember to you that I'm not going anymore into the design problem, but to have awareness of the threat. So the threat is not just a technical threat. we are not speaking anymore or just the information attack, information security attack. So coming out from, starting from information point of view, IT point of view, and ending in IT. It's something that is cyber attack means going from one layer to other layers. So affecting people, affecting the physical things, going to critical infrastructure and so on. So, and we are, the threat is completely hybrid. We have to look at 360 degrees, and the security will be global. So it means it is not just the physical security, it is not just the cyber security, it's not just the IT security. We have to look at all the media. So you have to think that most of the successful attack use the human as a key point. So the social engineering, which is old like the man, is continually used, is an evolution of what was done in the Old Testament with the snake and Eve, and with Troy and so on. So it's just the same, just an evolution. So the human level is completely involved. So we cannot rely just on technology, and it's not, the fault is not just the technological way of doing it. Even if. Last two questions, please.
Hi, my name is Agata Gromova. I'm from Bank Julius Baer. As you know, it's a private bank. And I know a lot about cybersecurity and attacks because, as you know, the private banks get attacked every day. And actually, what I learned is that the security really starts with you. We talk a lot about the digitalization. We talk a lot about government and to which extent it should be involved. We talk a lot about different systems, right? But still, I think it's very personal. And I would rather see it more this way, that the solution should be holistic. And I'm fully with Helen Teplitska here. I know that Sberbank is doing a great job educating people. So my question is that how far this this issue lies beyond the personal responsibility, because, as you said correctly, the cyber attackers don't need anything, but they need one thing: the victim.
That's clear. Okay,
so,
can I ask you a question? Do you bring your mobile phone at work at Jules Baer?
I do.
In that case, you don't have the answer yet.
Yes, this is why I'm asking you. So
that's where
what's my strategy?
The human responsibility start. Never you bring a mobile phone into a private bank because you're bringing a terminal into somebody else's hands.
Any other questions before going ahead? We are getting another question, and then we can have final statements and replying to the two questions.
There is
Please.
Over there. There was before this one? Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, panel. Yes. So my question is, sorry, let me introduce myself. I'm Spandana, and I'm traveling from London. I'm having my own event tomorrow about smart cities and Sunstar hotels. So my only concern is the digitalization is growing so rapidly. Today we are talking about 5G, tomorrow 6G, and are the policies, are the government, or the corporate world like you, the policies are equally rapidly growing along with the digitalization. So, like recently there was an attack in Heathrow Airport. The drone has traveled and landed on the airport. So the drones can get anywhere, So, so are the policies, the risk, are we developing accordingly along lineage with the cyber security?
Thank you. And the last one, and then you can reply. The gentleman here.
Thank you.
And then we are running out of time. As a Swiss guy, I feel bad when we are a little bit. Sorry for that. I feel uncomfortable.
My name is Roman Lifson. I'm Managing Director at Catalyst Securities in New York. We listened to a very insightful presentation yesterday from a Chief Financial Officer of Marriott, who had 500 million records stolen. And it's not like they don't have a budget for cybersecurity. They have a huge budget and I'm sure a set of procedures. So my question to you is, will there be a point in the future where cybersecurity had a head start to the hackers, where we would feel safe for an extended period of time, and what would it take to get to that point? What kind of technological advances, like quantum computing, any other technological advances to be safe for some time?
So just, I'm asking you, our panelists, just to, as final statement, trying to reply to these three questions. Not easy, but maybe just pick one of the three. Starting from Alessandro, and then we...
I will be very fast. I think we need a cultural change, because if you don't trust in people, and you don't invest in a new kind of cyber education, I promise you, you will spend a lot of money from digital forensics activities, which are much more expensive than caring people education in terms of education and preparing for some attacks. That it's not.
Matteo? I'm seconding what he's saying. Cybersecurity is a cultural thing. It should be approached holistically. Great words, but also from a multi-perspective, because it's not just a matter of 0 and 1. It's a matter that should involve different stakeholders at different levels.
Carlos, you can also tell us where can we have your book?
Yeah, the book is there, by the way.
Perfect, good.
But just on your point and Jules' Berg point, we protect something like 20,000 client WISeKey. We provide technology to something like 500 banks. The number one threat on banks is not the $1 billion you're going to buy on cybersecurity, as JP Morgan did 2 years ago. But it is the people. It's the people working in the bank. We are in a situation where we don't clean our teeth every morning we work to work, right? So we are doing the same thing. We don't have a cybersecurity hygiene. So we are installing apps in mobile phones that we bring to work, and we have our email, corporate email, at the same mobile phone. The apps handle data, extract data, sends to hackers. So we need to have a very basic hygiene on not bringing your personal problems, data, compromises into your corporative security area. And you should forbidding everybody to bring your phones into the company. Or get an encrypted phone. We sell them, by the way, so you can get one.
By the way.
No, but we did it actually not because I want to sell phones. I did it because I wanted to use them myself. But my point is, personal cybersecurity has to be before corporative cybersecurity, before national cybersecurity. If you don't solve the personal issue, you don't solve anything.
Paolo?
Yeah, never try to solve your problems alone. Do it in cooperation, ask for aid, and let's start really cooperating public-private immediately, not waiting anymore.
Pascal?
So, yes, you're right, we are too slow. I don't want you to take away. So, yes, we are too slow. I don't want you to take away the idea that cybersecurity, 100% cybersecurity exists. So the only way is to mitigate the risk by, looking at the behavior of the user, by also being able to detect, incident, be able to respond, be able to put design, security design and resilience in the design of the things, and by sharing. And doing this, we are going to reduce the risk at the level that is acceptable, but the risk will always exist. Like when you take your car, you're always the risk, to have, a deadly accident.
Hello, please.
You have less risk when you're flying than when you're driving.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I echo pretty much the sentiment of everyone here. But to your question, I do think there are advancements in technology that will make a difference. I think, sadly, we will always be catching up because of all the discussions we've had here. They are organized, we are not, so until that happens, we're always catching up. But I think at the end of the day, if we at least raise the awareness to a higher level than it has been, and perhaps it's a blessing in disguise that we've had these gigantic hacks, like the Marriott hack as an example. People will start to take this seriously. And cybersecurity has to be something that's just embedded into design of any company or any network. It's like oxygen at the end of the day. Yes. And the risk of not having it, just go ask Target and some of these companies what it did to their market cap, their brand reputation. So the price of not doing the right things far outweighs the costs of proper cybersecurity.
Yelena?
Like every bank, we are under attack every single day, multiple times. I can proudly report to you that last year our cybersecurity center counted 100% of attacks using artificial intelligence to a greatest extent. Of course, we have 7 major labs that all work, including to address the cybersecurity risks, but among those, artificial intelligence is probably the leading one, where there is an ongoing analytics of activities, sorting suspicious activities, and I think this can be extrapolated to any other application within the financial industry. And I will be happy to put those of you who are interested together with our Cybersecurity Center and collaborate with all the members of our wonderful panel.
All right. My name is Marco Passalia. I'm not a journalist. I'm Swiss politician, Swiss entrepreneur, and I try to do the best. Thank you.